the bride. Everyone loved. Until she lost everything, a dream come true. In a small town in northern Georgia, where the trees change color as if painted by a romantic artist, and the streets are filled with untold stories, lived a woman whose life seemed straight out of a movie. Her name was Amara Sinclair, and at 28 she had everything anyone could wish for. A successful career as an interior designer, a loving family, loyal friends, and above all, true love. Amara wasn't just beautiful, she was radiant. With her dark wavy hair, her almond-shaped eyes that sparkled with intelligence and empathy, and that smile that could brighten even the greyest day, it was impossible not to fall in love with her, or at least admire her from afar. Her boyfriend, Daniel Hartley, was a quiet man, a man of his word and a kind heart. A civil engineer, he worked for an infrastructure company that built bridges and highways in the South. He wasn't rich, but he was stable. He loved Amara with a quiet intensity, without needing extravagant displays. He wrote her handwritten letters, made her coffee every morning before leaving for work, and never forgot her birthday, not even the one on their first date. When Daniel proposed on the rooftop of a boutique hotel in Savannah, as the sunset painted the sky in shades of pink and gold, Amara wept tears of joy. The photo of that moment went viral on Instagram, with thousands of comments like "This is real love," or "I want what they have." And so began the countdown to the perfect wedding. The wedding of your dreams, or your nightmares. The ceremony was scheduled for October 15th, a sunny Saturday, at the elegant Chateau d'Or, an event venue located just outside Atlanta. The place was known for its floral arches, tables draped in white linens, and fairy lights that hung from the ceiling like fallen stars. Amara had planned every detail, from the handmade invitations to the vegetarian menu with vegan options, because one of her best friends was vegan. She had chosen a French lace mermaid gown, designed by a talented young woman from New York. And although many told her not to worry so much, Amara always replied with a smile, "This is the most important day of my life. I want everything to be perfect." But, as is often the case in real-life stories, perfect rarely comes without its shadows. The first signs of tension appeared weeks before the wedding. Amara began receiving anonymous messages on her Instagram. Short, cryptic messages. "Are you sure he loves you? Remember who knew you first. Not all princes wear crowns." At first, Amara ignored them. She thought they were nosy fans or just jealous people. But when the messages started arriving in her personal email too, and then on her phone, she began to feel uneasy. She showed the messages to Daniel, who laughed and said, "They're just internet freaks. Don't worry about them." But Amara couldn't let them go. Her gut told her something wasn't right. The shadow of the past. Amara wasn't a woman who lived in the past, but some memories, no matter how hard you try to bury them, always find a way to resurface. When she was 22, Amara had a toxic relationship with a man named Ethan Vance. He was charming, passionate, and made her feel like the most special woman in the world. But behind that facade, Ethan was possessive, manipulative, and at times, violent. One night, after an argument, Ethan pushed her against a wall, leaving her with a bruise on her arm. Amara reported him, and although he was arrested, the charges were dropped for lack of evidence, and because Amara, scared and confused, refused to testify. Ethan disappeared from her life for years. Until 2 weeks before the wedding, someone sent Amara a photograph. It was Ethan, smiling, with a glass of wine in his hand, sitting in a bar in Atlanta. At the bottom of the photo, a caption, "I've been waiting for you." Amara felt like the air had been sucked out of her lungs. She told Daniel everything, and for the first time, he wore a serious expression. "If this guy is stalking you, we'll report him, right now." But Amara, fearing the situation would become more complicated, decided against it. "I don't want to ruin my wedding with this," she said. "Besides, maybe he's just trying to scare me. He won't do anything." Daniel disagreed but respected her decision. The wedding day. The wedding day dawned with clear skies and a cool breeze carrying the scent of fallen leaves. The chateau d'Or was filled with people, family, friends, colleagues, and even some influencers Amara had invited to document the event. Everything seemed perfect. Amara looked at herself in the mirror as she put on her veil. Her mother, with tears in her eyes, took her hand and said, "My child, today your new life begins. Be happy." Daniel, waiting for her at the altar, couldn't stop smiling. His eyes shone as if he had won the lottery. The ceremony was emotional. There was laughter, tears, and hugs. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," the room erupted in applause. After the ceremony, the reception began. The music, the food, the photos, the toasts, everything flowed like a tranquil river. Then, right after the newlyweds' first dance, Amara received a message on her phone. It was from an unknown number. He said, "I told you I'd be waiting for you. Today's the day." Amara froze. She looked around, searching for familiar faces, but everything was normal. The music continued, people were laughing, Daniel was dancing with his mother. She decided not to say anything to anyone. Maybe it was just a joke, maybe it was a mistake. But then, as she walked toward the bathroom, she saw a man with his back to her, standing near the main entrance. He was wearing a dark jacket and a baseball cap pulled low. She didn't recognize him, but something about his posture seemed familiar. She stopped. Her heart pounded. When the man turned around, Amara felt like the world stopped. It was Ethan. The fall of paradise. Ethan didn't approach her. He just looked at her, with a cold, almost cruel smile. Then slowly, he took something out of his pocket. Amara didn't see it clearly, but she knew what it was. A gun. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She just froze, as if time had stopped. Then Ethan raised the gun. He didn't point it at Amara. He pointed it at Daniel, and he fired. The sound of the gunshot was deafening. The music stopped. People screamed. Someone fell to the ground. Daniel. Amara ran to him, calling his name. She hugged him, crying, begging him not to leave. But Daniel wasn't breathing anymore. Ethan calmly walked toward the exit. No one stopped him. Everyone was too stunned. Only when the police arrived minutes later did someone remember seeing a man in a dark jacket running out the back door. The aftermath of a moment. The news spread like wildfire. The case of the wedding, interrupted by a shooting, went viral in a matter of hours. The media called it the wedding that ended in tragedy, or the day the I do turned into silence. Amara, devastated, retreated to her home. She didn't speak to anyone, not even her family. She just stared at photos of Daniel, weeping, repeating to herself over and over, "I should have reported him. I should have told someone." The police investigated. They discovered that Ethan had been stalking Amara for weeks. He had bought the gun illegally. He had planned everything. But the most shocking thing they found in his apartment was a box full of photos of Amara, newspaper clippings, even voice recordings of her phone conversations with Daniel. Ethan didn't just want to hurt her. He wanted to destroy her happiness. Chapter 7. The Trial of Conscience. When Ethan was captured 3 days after the incident, he offered no resistance. He surrendered without a fight. At the police station, he said only one thing: "She belonged to me. She should never have married someone else." The trial was swift. The evidence was overwhelming. Ethan was found guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. But for Amara, justice brought no peace. Every morning upon waking, she felt Daniel was still by her side. Every night she dreamed of the wedding, of his smile, of his voice. She tried to return to work, but she couldn't concentrate. She tried going out with friends, but she couldn't smile. She tried talking to a therapist, but the words wouldn't come. She felt guilty. Not for what Ethan had done, but for not having acted sooner. The voice that won't be silenced. Months after the incident, Amara decided to speak out, not to the media, not on television, but to a small group of women who had experienced similar situations, women who had been harassed, threatened, and hurt. In a meeting room at a local church, Amara stood before them and said, "I don't regret getting married. I regret not asking for help sooner." If you're in a situation where you feel afraid, if someone is harassing you, if something doesn't feel right, don't wait. Speak up. Report it. Ask for help. Because if I had done that, Daniel would still be here. Her words resonated. Many women wept. Others hugged her. They all understood. Amara didn't want to be a victim. She wanted to be a voice. Daniel's legacy. Over time, Amara began to honor Daniel's memory in small but meaningful ways. She planted a tree in her garden. She donated to a foundation that helped victims of domestic violence. She wrote a book titled The Day Yes Turned into Silence, where she told her story with honesty, pain, and hope. The book became a bestseller. Thousands of people read it. Many women wrote to her, thanking her for sharing her story. One of the most moving messages came from a young woman who said, "Thank you for speaking out. I was also harassed. I didn't report it. But now, thanks to you, I did. And I'm safe." Amara cried when she read it. For the first time in months, she felt that Daniel was still with her. Not physically, but in her heart. The second part of the story, yet to be written. Today, Amara is still alive. She is not the same woman she was before the wedding. She is stronger, wiser, more aware. She has learned that love is not only joy, but also responsibility. That protecting oneself is not selfishness, but survival. She hasn't remarried. She doesn't know if she ever will. But what she does know is that no matter what happens, she will not let fear control her, because Daniel deserves to be remembered with joy, not pain. And she, with every step she takes, honors him.